Welcome back, my friends, for another fun reloading video. Today we're continuing with our 38 special reloading series here. We are just refilling our primers in the process of that. Got them all flipped over here. Now we just have to pick them up. And my primer tube is partially full. I actually just found out while picking it up a second ago. Meh. Anyways, no big deal. We'll just top it off. I'll fill up the press, and then I'll come back down to grab the rest of whatever I couldn't fit into this tube initially. So if you missed part one, go check that out. But everything so far is running very smoothly. I think we've had one issue with the primer pocket, but it actually turned out just fine, so wasn't really an issue. Okay, now see, tube is full, so let's go fill up the press. So we just simply pull out our buzzer alarmy thing. Butterfly, there we go, get them all out there. This time I'll turn the buzzer over and we'll actually use it just in case you guys want to hear it. I know some of you guys like the buzzer. It is fun, but nothing to worry about. All right, so we just have a few left here. Oh golly. A few left here to pick up, so we'll go ahead and finish that off. Come here. All right, so next we're going to be checking our scale to make sure it's still giving us a smooth 6.5 grains here. So we have our beam scale set here to 65. And I'll start with the digital just so we can get a kind of an active ongoing measure. And if you remember the first video, I said I can do at least 3 before having to dump it onto the scale. So this actually goes a lot faster when dialing in the powder measure. So there's 3 out of 10. And again, we need 6.5 as an average, but 6.4 and 6.6 are also acceptable. This is just a light, pretty mild, middle of the road target load, something for planking, playing around at the range, something I can use amongst all of my guns that can shoot 38 special. And that should have been 9, so 1 more here. And the crappy digital scale is reading at 64.7. Let me throw it over to the beam scale and see how that looks with it set to 65. And actually the beam scale is dead on 100%. Bingo. Let's actually take a look here. Here's a quick view of the scale. Dead on even, with our scale set to 65 for the 10 throw average. So that's awesome. Our Dillon powder measure is totally rocking and rolling, and this just shows you how consistent ball powders are going to be. And actually, while we're here, when I started, the top of this tape is where the powder was. So that's 300 rounds at 6.5 grains, if that gives you any kind of indication as to how much we're using. So if this is 300 rounds, then we'll probably be about here after the next 3, and probably getting down here at 900. So I'm going to fill it back up before then, but it goes a long way, and it flows very nicely through the Dillon. And one more thing, we need to fill up our bullet tray. God, I'm an idiot. Anyways, there's some on the bullet tray. And I just found our stragglers we dropped, so we got a little ding on this guy. But don't worry, he'll be okay. Alrighty, so we are ready to go. There was our test piece of brass over there that we were using to check our powder throw with. So we're going to just go ahead and get started with it. Let me make sure that actually only has one charge. Yes, beautiful. And we're seeding a primer on stage 1. And powder on stage 2. Next we add the bullet on stage 3. And stage 4 is gonna crimp it up for us. Now I'm gonna see if it'll fall out of the chute into the ammo can. Womp womp, total fail. Okay, I guess I'll go with the blue box for now. I was hoping we could have had a shortcut. I guess I should have inspected that one round there since we've restarted, but I think we'll be okay. I'll check the next one and make sure it still plunks and everything. So let's get this switched over and then we'll get to it. Okay, so we knocked that last one out into the ammo can. This one has a primer, which means we have powder and seeded our bullet there, so we are good to rotate and continue on here. So yeah, people often they're like, what do you shoot, you know? Well, I like to reload, you know, 9mm, 38 special, 357, this and that. And they're like, oh, 38 special? What? That's like old and crappy, right? Right? It's old and crappy because it's like a revolver thing, right? It's really crappy and old because it's a revolver, right? Like, well, yeah, it's a revolver, but you can actually, you know, in a modern firearm, whether you're shooting it in your 357 rated firearm or your 38 special plus P, you can actually achieve some pretty good numbers with, say, you know, 158 grain plus P load. I don't want to spout any numbers off the top of my head or something that's wrong, so actually let's we're gonna take a little side quest here. And as another aside from that, whenever I'm gonna walk away from the press, I like to leave it in the up position so I know that this powder throw is done. It's all been seeded, everything. And then when I come down, all we have to do is add the primer, turn it, and we're good to go. Anyways, I'm going to check real quick at some numbers on some 158 grain plus P loads, because they're pretty, not too shabby. Okay, so I was curious. I checked both the Hornady and the Lee manual for some data. We got some similar numbers here. You're going to usually see a 9mm self-defense round, 124 grain, moving about 1150. That provides 364 foot-pounds of energy. Meanwhile, our 158 grain 38 special plus P at 1000 feet per second gives us 350 foot-pounds of energy. So these are very similar numbers. So it's we shouldn't really be estimating a 38 special as much as we think we are, especially if it compares this closely to one of the most popular self-defense rounds in the entire universe. And I'm pretty sure that's actually, you know, the NATO loading right there is 124 FMJ at 1150. So switch that out with, you know, an XTP or a gold dot. That's your self-defense load. So if we compare that with the 38 Special, we are just, you know, right below that, within the margin of error of our standard deviations probably. So we could even call these even. The only downfall would be your capacity. So, you know, 5 or 6 rounds versus 7 to 21 or however many you can hold with a 9mm. But a nice pocket carry gun. You can have a nice few loads, which should be all you need if you were to get in a situation. Anyways, wow, that was a huge side rant there. Let's get back to loading our load for the day, which is 125 grains, going probably 700 or something. This is just going to be a light target load, nothing special. So since I stepped away though, I'm going to double check our powder. And there's our case fill again, way down in there. Looks like one throw to me, so we'll go ahead and stick this back, buttoned up with the locator pin. Be sure we got a new primer. Beautiful Federal case there, seated and crimped. Oh, yep, I was gonna catch that and we could stare at it. But yes, look at this beautiful round, all seated exactly the same. Nice Ford blue with some probably Harbor Freight black speckling in there. Pretty cool little look there. All right. Gotta make sure I'm not screwing up here. Always double checking what you're doing, especially if you're distracted by either watching videos or making videos. Very important to pay attention while you're reloading. But you're all smart guys, you know that, right? So I called up the indoor range, asked if we could use chronographs in there. And they're like, yeah, that's not an issue. But like I expected, he said people often have issues with the lighting, whether or not they can actually get the chronograph to get a reading or not. So I don't know if I want to take a whole bunch of stuff to try to gather data and it's a total failure, because if I'm gathering chronograph data, I'm not going to be focused on shooting for groups, and if I'm shooting for groups, I don't want to have to worry about whether or not I'm going to shoot my chronograph in the face. So I'd rather not take my ammo to gather chronograph data and not shoot for groups and then not gather chronograph data at the same time. So I don't know. I'll probably just bring a handful of this just for target practice. See if I can steal anyone's brass off the floor. Yeehaw. I'm glad you guys are digging the tunes I've been throwing in there. They're just off the, you know, the audio library they provide on the studio app thingy, where you upload and you have all your analytics and everything. They give you some royalty-free music you can use. So they've got some good stuff in there. A lot of it's weird, like electronic dance stuff, or You know, it just sounds like sci-fi noises and atmospheric stuff. I don't know. I don't need that for reloading. Unless you want me to put in, make it sound like we're in the jungle. Oi mates, we're here in the jungle and it's about 600 degrees outside. Sweating me old tickers off. And there's mosquitoes the size of my hand. But here we are at the Dillon reloading in the jungle. Nah, you know, we don't have to do any of that. We don't have to do any of that nonsense. But yeah, I just got some tunes that we can play while we're hanging out because awkward silence is awkward and I'm awkward enough as it is, so we're gonna go ahead and spice it up with some tunes, you know what I'm saying? So, anyways, back to the merits of 38 Special. I guess I need to add a piece of brass into here, dum-dum, haha! Always forgetting something. Yeah, it's a hunting round in the states that still require straight walls. People still hunt with 38 Special or more popularly 357 Magnum. And more recently, the 350 Legend. But it does qualify as a hunting cartridge in several states. And a big hefty 158 grain XTP with plus P-load with maybe a 6 or 8 inch handgun, Thompson Center, or even out of a lever gun. You know, your 1894 or your little Henry or something. You can quite pack quite the punch there with 158 grains. Moving that quick. And it's just fun. You know, you can download them like this. You don't have to worry about cycling and action. If you're just using a lever gun or a revolver, there's absolutely no worry about that. So you can load them as hot or as light as you want. And it's just a piece of cake, really. It was actually the first cartridge I started to reload with. So, you know, good times. First case I actually started collecting brass for as well. Because at the time before I was reloading, I was just buying crappy steel case for most of my stuff. Whether it was 223 or 9mm or whatever, I would just get steel case or aluminum or whatever was the cheapest. Because, you know, you guys have seen how cheap I am. Yep. Now, that doesn't mean I won't spend money if it's worth it. Look at the Blue Machine, you know, buy once, cry once. But I'm still going to save as much money as I can. And while we call our, you know, powder-coated bullets and all that free, you know, the time that goes into it and the materials and the equipment, that all has a cost, but I've well paid for that. All my casting equipment is paid for itself, just with the amount of projectiles that I've been able to create with said tools. You know, I just made 25 pounds of these the other week. That's roughly 1,200 or more projectiles. So that would have cost into the maybe $100 or plus dollars. You know, at 10 cents a piece. Or I don't even know what the market is for coated projectiles. probably 8 or 10 cents a piece. That's at least, or upwards of $120. So for the cost of the mold, which was probably, I think, back when I bought it, 35 bucks for the 6 cavity, 10 bucks for the mold handles, you're at $45. And then, you know, you have your pot, your melter. I think I got mine for 60 bucks way back when. They might be 70 or 80 nowadays. But instead of buying a box of bullets off the shelf, I bought a melting pot and a mold and created those bullets for free. It's pretty dang cool if you ask me. It's part of the entire reloading process, you know, really, in my mind. Part of the fun. Knowing where your projectiles came from, you know, knowing it was antibiotic free, cage free, free range. You know, they were let out on Sundays. I know where my projectiles are coming from, so it makes you feel good when you have a good product going into your other product, which is your projectile, going into your finished piece of ammo. So that's pretty cool. You know, it builds confidence. And it's nice knowing that if I can't get factory stuff, like if, say, there was a supply chain mishap or some sort of worldwide shortage of supplies, I'm still able to reuse product and things I've found and been able to recycle. I'm really rambling today. Heck, what are we on about? Casting is fun, is what I'm getting on about. And I think I'm at a point where I actually have all of my bases covered for the stuff I currently shoot. So I have a good variety, and I can cast and reload every single thing that I have in the safe. So that's also a good feeling. That also goes back to the whole sort of self-reliance or, you know, just satisfaction of doing shit on your own. Some people don't understand that. My friends are all, nah, I'll just buy my factory ammo, it's cool. I'll buy a case, I've got 1,000 rounds, it's all good. I'm like, but dude, you're paying 2 or 3 or 17 times as much, depending on if they got gun brokered or whatever. But here I am, crafting my own things meant to fit my guns that work for me, how I want them to work. And I can see it all the way through from start to finish. And I think just from learning, reloading, and casting and all that, it sort of furthers your knowledge about firearms and how things work. Like for instance, how many people know what a squib load is, you know, if they don't reload? I'm not saying if you're going to reload, you're going to get a squib. I'm just saying that it's always cautioned about. You know, if you miss your powder charge, you're going to have a squib. You need to be able to know what a squib is, know what it feels like or what to expect when it happens, so that you can prevent yourself from totally blowing your hand up or something. So yeah, how many people out in the normal public know what a squib load is compared to someone who's reloading or casting or doing other things like that? So, yeah, I don't know, man. You know, headspace. How many people actually know what headspace is that probably don't reload or, you know, work on their firearms or something like that? Because most people that just buy their factory ammo, clean their gun after they shoot, or maybe once a year, or they never clean their stuff or whatever, they're not going to understand standard headspace, or like a rimmed cartridge compared to a rimless or a 9mm or a straight wall, or you know what I'm saying. There's things that you learn as a reloader, as a caster, that you're going to learn that just shooting won't teach you. Yeah, I don't know how I'm getting off on these tangents, but dang. We're getting down to having to refill our primer tube here. But this is running totally smooth. No problem whatsoever. How do you guys like this angle? This is pretty much what I can see right now. Except like a foot higher. And it's hard to see around the camera. So yeah. Got maybe 15 or 20 more until this one is empty, but I'm going to go until it hits the buzzer just so you guys can hear it. I know you guys were curious or worried or, you know, whatever. It's a good tool to have, but like I said, I don't know if I've said it, I'm 6'4", so I'm rather tall and I can just look, well, not look straight down, but I'm basically looking at it constantly, so I know when I need primers. And it's quite often late at night, like 12:02 Sunday morning, 12:03 now. So I don't want that waking up people in the house, if you know what I mean. Because it's not quiet. It is an alarm. So, you know, sometimes we don't need it to tell me when I'm going to run out of primers. Powder's actually getting down there too. But I don't need to refill it for this session quite just yet. It is good to have a nice heavy powder column in your powder measure though. That way you have a steady weight pressing down on the next amount that's going to come out. Should aid with consistency. The heck was that? Okay, we'll just slide them back in. Put him back on the rim. Okay, that was... I did that once the other day too on the first episode. Let me just make sure we got powder here, just so I'm not screwing up. Yeah, good to go. Okay, primed here, powder here. And we got some brass shavings on the priming cup. Seated here, crimped here. We're good to rotate. Oh wow. I don't know where this piece of Winchester came from, but look at that ream job. Holy moly. This is our next one. We're going to give it a shot. I will comment on how loose or tight it is. I wonder if it were crimped at some point, I guess. Okay, going up for the seating and the powdering, coming down. Oh yeah, pretty decent on the tightness. Let's see what it looks like. yeah, I would say that looks like a standard primer with a little bit of extra room around it. No big deal. Moving on. And it did have a reasonable amount of tightness to it. So I don't feel like it was any looser. Missing all that material. Holy crap. They really dug into that filler. But it's all good. As you can see, it just loaded up perfectly fine. Gotta move those out of the way. We're starting to overflow onto the ramp, which could result in spilt ammunition. And they might make fun of you on the internet if you spill your ammo out of your little blue tray at the end. Sorry, I was just jamming there for a second. Just jamming it out. Primer bell alarm here in about 3 more. 2 to 3 more. Ooh, getting close. Are you feeling the anticipation of the primer alarm? Ooh, it's so close. That one felt kind of weird, but I think it's all good. Yeah, no big deal. Okay, maybe this one. Ooh, one more. It's literally resting on it. Here, let's get you in there. Ooh. This next one, folks, we're gonna set him off. Primer alarm in 3, 2. See, it's all good. And then we get our old topper offer. Fold him back where I normally keep it. Pull him out. Make sure your focus is totally blurry and not focused on the area you're looking at. No big deal, no biggie. Back in with our little weighted rod thingy. I don't know what it's actually called, but you know, it's a weighted rod. So that's what I'm gonna call them. And we should be able to go back down and continue on. Heck yeah, brother. So what about a little more on the versatility of your 38 Special, right? You know, you can do little snake shot sort of loads. They sell the little capsules that you fill up with your favorite little bird shot sizing. And they have load data for those. So that is something you can do that you can't really do in, say, a 9mm or something like that. You could also do maybe a duplex load if you had like maybe a couple 100 grain semi-wad cutters or something silly, or a couple round balls. Again, you don't have to worry about functioning a slide and all that. So you could have kind of like a double buckshot load or something. Could be sort of interesting. One day I need to get a like a 360. I need to get like a 360 round ball mold and then powder coat some of those and load some of those for the 38 Special, because that actually sounds like a lot of fun. You know, maybe within 10 or 15 yards, if you can get 2 of the little round balls to hit within a couple inches, that would be pretty impressive, really. And then maybe chronograph them, that'd be interesting. And I think the round balls at 360 diameter, those are like 75 grains or something a piece, 70 grains maybe. So the total load would only be 140 if there were 2 of them. So that's a pretty common, you know, bullet weight for a 38 special. So it wouldn't be hard to find data. However, it would take up some more case volume than usual because the space between the 2 balls where they meet inside the case takes up a lot of negative space compared to a solid projectile. So you'd have to use a reduced charge or just Trail Boss or something fun like that. I say something like that, but no, it's Trail Boss is pretty much the only option, or a you know, just a few grains of a really fast burning powder, like 3 grains of tight group or clays or something, somewhere around that burn speed might do the trick. I'm sure lots of things would actually work, to be honest, but for like maximum velocities or something out of a short barrel with that much case capacity available for powder, yeah. So we don't have a whole bunch left here. Who's AP? AP 38 special? I don't know you, bud. Ain't never heard of you before. But it slid right in, no problemo. I'm gonna have to refill my brass here soon. Why does that happen? I feel like I pressed it into the dang shell plate. Shell plate. Prime. The rim looks fine. And it primed it on the second go. I guess I'm just like sliding it up and not locking it between this little bar or something. Totally user error. Need to get my crap together, dang it. Like that one feels tough again. Ooh. Okay, we'll just make sure it's nice and round. S and B. Dang, that was a tight little pocket there, buddy. Tight pocket on the ancient S and B brass there. Okay, there we go. Federals are pretty much good to go. Oh, smooth. There's a little shaving off of the S&B case, or off of the primer from the S&B case. Shooby dooby. Yep, so we're just cranking them out here. Let me, let's kick it into gear and I'll see you in a minute. With only 4 pieces of brass left, but probably 8 or 10 primers left in the tube, so I don't feel like getting any more brass out tonight. It's almost 1 in the AM, and you know, I'm used to waking up at about 6, so this might be the wrap up here. And just a couple more cases, but we're still 100% success compared to the 9mm cases we were loading. Very simple, very consistent, no worries at all compared to last week's series. So that was our last case there. We do have a couple more primers, but we'll just leave those to continue for next time. No worries at all. I just pushed forward like a dummy, like I had a case in there to prime. Ha! This next one's like my favorite looking color out of all the ones we just did. It's that very nice cobalt blue kind of color. Basically Harbor Freight black mixed into the Eastwood Ford with just the slightest tint of the mirror red, I think, was left in the tub before I started today. So that's how we got that color. So here we are with about 140 rounds from today's haul. Not too bad, just a quick session here. But I want to thank you guys for hanging out and watching. If you enjoy this sort of content, please feel free to subscribe to the channel and like the video. You can also support the channel over on patreon.com/dummyround. So stay tuned for the next part of the series. We're going to keep loading up some 38 special. But for now, these are going to go into the ammo can, and we will see you in the next video. Have a good one.